Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Daily Thread. A little bit of a hiatus. This is our first show of the week, post-Purim. Still dressed in my Purim costume. We'll get to that in just a second. But welcome to the Daily Thread. So yeah, Purim was an amazing day. I'll tell you that I left. I went to Suda by Nissan in the Five Towns. You were there, of course. Right. And I left the Suda around 7:15.
Okay.
And I didn't get home until 2 a.m.
Okay.
And the trip was only supposed to be an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
But when I was right before exit 9, getting onto the Tappan Zee Bridge, my tire showed that it was at 0 psi. So I pulled over, and I looked at the tire. It didn't look terribly flat. But I pulled over in a gas station. I got to a good spot right next to an air machine. So I pull up to it. I'm looking at the tire. I definitely am not going to make it. It was another 15 to 20 miles to get home. I definitely wasn't going to make it on that tire. But I called Chaverim, and obviously I don't blame Chaverim that they weren't able to get someone out there. It was Purim, and they're probably dealing with more pressing issues. I called Interstate Chaverim. Long story short, all in all, nobody was really available. I did have somebody offer to come out and help me, Yaakov Landau, who's a great guy. I think you know him as well.
Where does he live? He lives out there too, Muncie?
He lives in Muncie.
Oh, yeah?
He does, but so he offered to get a ride to where I was and help me with a tire. But at that point, I was already speaking to a different... to a different.
I think your sister Dini also offered to come out and get you, and take you home.
I mean, I called Eliezer. A lot. All in all, everyone was a little bit too drunk.
They were inebriated.
Yeah, everyone was, and it was like the perfect storm to have a flat tire. Like, Chaverim is like, if you call on any other day, we would have this covered in a second. Right. But like, you're calling on Purim.
You can't call a Jewish AAA. You have to call the drill AAA.
No, so like you talking to the gas station guy, he's like, I don't know what to tell you. So anyways, this is kind of, I thought I was doing something pretty cool here. It didn't work, but I went to the tire and I started filling it up with air, and I saw there was a small little hole in which the air was coming out of. Okay. I said, okay, I just got to plug that hole, and then I'll be able to just go on my way and then fix the tire a different time.
Okay.
So how am I filling the hole? Got to get creative.
Chewing gum?
So I see some, so I start chewing gum, a couple pieces of chewing gum. I plug the hole, I fill up the tire, and I say, let's go. And I jump into the car. I start driving. I maybe made it another 3 or 4 miles before the car started, shaking. And I pulled over to the side, but this time it was even worse because I was on the side of the highway, which, cars were really racing by. It was really scary. And then, at that point, a police officer came as well, and a tow truck came. They put us on the back of the tow truck in the car. They towed us off of the highway into a parking lot, and there we were. My mother-in-law came and she picked up Rosie, my daughter, and she put her to sleep. And then there I was with my wife on Purim night in this parking lot, waiting for a company to come change our tire. So. Yeah, so that took a while, and then they told us that they don't have anybody to come change our tire, and then ultimately at 1 a.m. a tow truck came and drove us. They put us in the front of the tow truck and put the car in the back of the tow truck and drove us all the way home. And it was really a 20-minute drive, but because it was on a tow truck and because it was considered that a commercial vehicle, they needed to take the long way because they can't go down small roads. So it took us around an hour.
An hour? Wow.
And it took like 40 minutes. It was crazy. We got home at 2 a.m. And that's why I'm still in my costume. I haven't even changed since I got home.
So they unloaded the car into your driveway? Is that what they did?
So they unloaded the car into my driveway, and then the dealership actually sent someone this morning and changed the tire and fixed the tire.
So they gave you a new tire?
Well, I bought a new tire. They didn't give me anything.
But how long did you have the car? A few weeks?
No, I had the car a few months. I mean, I must have ran over a nail or something. Yeah. But anyways, let's get to that's sort of how my night went. Purim was amazing. for all of you who don't know, somebody dressed up as myself and Momo Bauman for Purim. So that was interesting.
I saw that. Yes.
Momo Friedman and Dovi Arem, I think his name is. They both dressed up as Meaningful People podcast. And I didn't know about it until everyone else found out about it. I started getting pictures. We'll put a picture on the screen. I started getting pictures, right when Purim began, and it was pretty crazy.
You mean the guy's name is Momo too?
Yeah, can you imagine? His name is actually Momo.
Oh, so there's 2 Momos in the world. I can't imagine there's more than 2.
Yeah, I think there's more. I think I know another one also. But you again didn't dress up for Purim. I'm wondering what's up with that.
I don't know. I guess I'm guilty. When I was a kid, I think I used to dress up like cowboy, like an Indian, that kind of thing. But last Purim we had a big party, if you remember, Purim night. I dressed up. I wore a kapata and an up hat. I don't
know why the kapata is a costume. To be honest, I think the kapata could be here to stay. But whatever.
I think your kapata is a costume too.
I don't know what you're waiting for. But
I think your kapata might be a costume. No, it's not.
Oh yeah, I don't think so. I kind of wear it every Friday night.
All right, and Shabbos too. Don't you wear Shabbos?
I do Shabbos. I do Shabbos as well.
You don't have to worry about buying suits for Yontif or anything like that anymore.
Or suit pants. It's very
All you need is a pair of black pants and a white shirt, then you're ready to go.
100%. It's. I highly recommend it. Anyone who's in the kapata,
or bekisha,
border or bekisha. Yeah, although bekisha is like very long and it can get probably very hot and it's heavy. Bekishas are heavy. I think a kapata is lighter. Listen, I recommend it. If you could pull it off, then go for it. You'll save money in the long run on suits and everything, and also, I don't know.
A few years ago, I heard Rabbi Shlomo Riskin from Efrat and Eretz Yisrael speak at a shul here in New York, and he wears a kapata, not a kapata. He wears a bekisha on Shabbos. Now he probably is the highest representative of modern Orthodoxy in the world today. Probably a senior member of modern Orthodoxy, and he explained why he wears a bekisha on Shabbos. He said that every single day he wears a suit and tie. He needed something that was special for Shabbos, so he put on.
That's true.
People that wear suit and ties, I understand. They don't want to just put a suit and tie on Friday night or Shabbos morning. They do that every day. It's not the covered Shabbos. So they put on a special jacket, a special rekel, as they call it, a langa rekel. So that adds something to the Shabbos. So it was a beautiful idea.
Yeah. Back to the costume conversation. There are a couple of really unique costumes out there on the street.
Yes, there were.
And everyone got pictures. Everyone got pictures around of different costumes. The one that I think may have gone the most viral is the guy who wore a sweatshirt and it had on the back scan for my daughter's shidduch resume with a QR code. So I thought that was unique.
Okay, I saw that. Yeah,
I scanned the code. It didn't go anywhere. I think it was.
He probably has.
If you're gonna do it, make a.
He doesn't have a daughter.
Make a real QR code.
He may not have a daughter.
It's very possible.
May only have boys.
I know. Yeah, I don't know. What else? What costume did you see that you were like, oh, that's really good. That's a funny one.
Well, a lot of people saw the one from Eretz Yisrael where the guy was like a walking portable bathroom. Did you see that one?
Yeah. Listen, the creative ones always come out of Eretz Yisrael. Really creative.
I had one I saw yesterday of like 6 guys dressed like huge dinosaurs getting on a bus in Israel, and the costumes were so big and blown up by air. By the time the last of the 6 guys got on the bus, the first guy went out the back exit. So the bus hadn't had a chance to even close the front doors, and all 6 of them went to leave. So
crazy.
That was a pretty funny scene.
I dressed up as a doctor, so I'm wearing my costume now. Just Lakava Shushan Purim. And I stopped by Dunkin Donuts with my wife she wanted to get a coffee, and she walked in to Dunkin Donuts. This is in the 5 towns, and there's a fireman online. No, people dressed up, and the guy in Dunkin Donuts goes, my wife orders like a decaf coffee, and the guy behind the counter goes, wow, I've never seen a doctor order a decaf coffee before. which hospital do you work in? My wife's like, oh yeah, the one right over here. Like, come on, man. You know, you're in the five towns. There's like a fireman, there's a choo-choo train, and there's like a police officer all online, dressed up. Like, I don't know, maybe the doctor costume is a little too real, a little too believable.
Did the tow truck driver think you guys were doctors?
You know what? I looked at Shauna as we were getting to the tow truck. I said, if he asks us about our costume, we're just going to talk about our medical career.
Yeah.
I went to Yale. You went to Harvard. We're both doctors in Columbia. And this is what we're going with right now. You know, like, you know, one year I was driving on Purim night, on the night of Tanis Esther, the night before Purim day. And it was around 1, 2 a.m. This is when I was single. I was like 17, 18 probably. Maybe even older, maybe 19. And I was with Nissen also. And we were driving a few people home to Bayswater. They needed a ride, so we're like, fine. We drove them home to Bayswater. And on our way, I'm driving, and I see a car flipped over in the middle of the street. It's literally on the top. It's a little smoke coming out of it. This car just flipped over. So I was dressed up as like a Russian Hasidish guy. I had like one of those furry hats with a vest and a mustache and everything. So I get out of the car, I run over, someone else also runs over, we break open the window, and we pull this lady out of the car. My first concern right away is, oh my gosh, for sure someone drunk driving a Purim. Honestly, it wasn't someone Jewish. It was a lady who was drunk, and I think she was on drugs, happens to be. She hit the curb, a pole, and she flipped over her car. We pulled her out of the car, she was fine, but all of a sudden, I had 4 or 5 drunk people in my car, and the entire Nassau County Police Department's about to show up. And there I am, ambulances, fire trucks, police, all there. And who's the first responder?
You.
Who's there? I'm there with my Russian fur hat, and they're looking at me. They're like, what is this? Like, what are you? I'm like, I'm just going to leave. And I left. But like, it's always when you step out of your community, like let's say you're traveling across a highway and you get out of your car to fill up your gas and you're dressed up like Vladimir Putin, like it's really a interesting situation for Goyim, for Gentiles to see, you know?
Absolutely, but listen, it's not I'm not drawing a parallel between between Halloween and Purim, but they have a day, the non-Jews, when they dress up very seriously in scary costumes outside of their usual characters. So it's not like they've never seen it. You know, they just think that you guys are. I don't know, if they don't have any information or education about it, things of a Jewish nature, then they just think that it's the Jewish Halloween. That's all.
Yeah, I guess. I think a lot of people don't know. Something else that happened last night at our Suda. We had the Suda in Cedarhurst by my brother Nissen's house.
Nissen and Shana.
Yeah. And his neighbor had come over.
Oh, Joel and Michelle.
Joe
and Michelle. Two very nice people.
Nissen, did Nissen invite them?
Yeah, he invited them. You invited them to come to the Suda. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Very nice. Anyways, Joel and Michelle are there, and they're, chatting it up with everybody. Joel must be in his 60s. He must be up there in his 60s. They're residents of Cedars for a long time. He wasn't wearing a yarmulke, but he was Jewish. And I'm looking at Yochanan, I'm looking at Nissen. I'm like, is anybody here going to ask if he put on tefillin today? I mean, I learned from Yossi Farrow. I got to know, you see a Yid, you gotta ask if he puts on tefillin. And then I know you said, no, it's too late. And Yochanan said, no, if you're putting on tefillin on somebody, they don't have to make a bracha, but it's not too late. They put on tefillin, even if it's late at night. So I went over to Joel. I said, hey, Joel, do you want to put on tefillin?
Yeah, at first he was reluctant to do it. He was trying to, I was standing right there. He was trying to get rid of you, actually, at first.
I know, but I didn't push too much. I said, hey, listen, it's up to you. It'll take 3 minutes. He said, 3 minutes? I said, 3 minutes, that's it. He's like, okay. I ran to my car. I got my tefillin, brought it in, and we wrapped tefillin on Joel. I guess I should show the video. Why not, right?
You have time to edit it in. You absolutely should show it.
So yeah, I put the tefillin on Joel, and it happens to be this is Joel's first time wearing tefillin since his bar mitzvah, since he was 13 years old. So we're talking about 55, probably 55 years ago.
For sure. Wow. Yeah, it's really something. He lives out here in the Five Towns for the last 53 years. 43 years. They said they're living here 43 years.
And nobody else thought to put tefillin on this guy?
They're waiting for Nachi Gordon to come along and to
It was my first time It was my first, what's called mitzvahim?
Mivtzaim.
Mitzvah. It's my first one. And
You've did it before? I thought, no, I guess not. But
once,
now, next time you're here, you have to go knock on his door and tell him, I'm back. I'm back. It's time to put on tefillin.
Yeah.
He was saying that, he has a pair of tefillin somewhere in his house. He doesn't know where it is. He hasn't touched it in decades. But
and I said to him, okay, so we're going to say Shema now. You know the Shema? And he said, I don't know. I have to repeat after you. And like it goes back to our conversation. Here's a Jew. He's a Jew. And he came over for a Purim Suda, because it's Purim. And I was explaining to him that Purim is the holiest day of the year. And he said to me, well, I thought Shabbos was the holiest day of the year. I said Shabbos is the holiest day of the week, but Purim is the holiest day of the year. And it's not their fault. These are they're all b'shaygeg. They're all they weren't raised with a frum upbringing. They don't know any better. If you have a neighbor that's Jewish and they're not religious, I'm not saying you go over there and you try to make them frum, but give them a taste at least. I have no doubt at all that he's gonna want to partake in a Purim Suda next year probably. And you know what? Maybe he'll put on tefillin again if for some reason. If you just gotta try.
What you saw, what you experienced is I would estimate I would estimate about 85% of American Jews. So you're talking about 6 million Jews in America. So you're talking about probably 4.5 million really have no connection to any Jewish ritual, even the fundamentals like tefillin and Shabbos and Krishma. They just don't have it. It's just been so many years. If you asked him about his grandfather probably lived in Europe and had a long beard and payas. But you're right. But it's not their fault, and that's why the curative organizations have a great, even though they do great work, they have a lot more to do, a tremendous amount to do. And, there's a lot of curative organizations right here. These people live in Cedarhurst. They have tremendous amount.
I know.
But I guess you can fall through the cracks no matter where you are, no matter what you do.
That's true. So let's get to a couple of stories. Why not?
Why not? Why not? We got time. No rush.
So I saw a story that happened the other day. How passengers on I think it was a United Airlines flight, teamed up to take down somebody who was threatening the passengers and threatening the flight attendants.
He wanted to open the door. He wanted to open the door on the flight.
I know, but he obviously was somebody who had lost his mind. That just to paint the picture, this guy got up. He wanted to open the airline's emergency door. He tried to stab a flight attendant with a broken metal spoon. He was getting louder. This is an eyewitness who said he thought it was just an argument, but he started yelling and screaming and threatening people, threatening to kill them. Yeah, he started yelling, and then ultimately he said, "You know what? I'm going to take over this plane." And he started running towards the flight attendant, and to like stab. And a few passengers just tackled this guy, took him down to the floor, and they restrained him. They said he was a strong guy. He was going crazy. They restrained him, and United Airlines reported that nobody was injured. A couple of the passengers really helped save the day. They landed the flight, and what can I say? This guy is probably not going to be flying anywhere too soon.
There's probably nothing more arbitrary, or like you guys would say, random, than who you end up flying with on a flight going anywhere. I mean,
you look around.
Of course, there's always all hashgacha pratis, obviously, but at least on the surface, you're never going to have a collection of people that have nothing to do with one another like you do on a flight. Sometimes I sit up on a flight and I look back. If I'm sitting like in the first 5 or 6 or 7 rows, I look back and I say, gee, who are these people? Who are these people? And we're all going to the same place. And everybody has different lives. But once in a while, you get a real nutcase like this who pops up, The guy had to come to the airport. He had to go present his ticket. He had to go through security. You have to be able to follow instructions, and then he goes on the plane and just goes bonkers. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild, and I thank God I've never been in a situation where I had somebody that crazy on a plane. Maybe some smaller situations, but it's definitely a frightening thing to experience when you're 35,000 feet in the air. But thankfully in this situation, everything was resolved, and was fine. The other story that we have is obviously this is the first year yahrzeit of Rav Chaim Kanievsky. It's been a year since we lost the Gadol Adar. It's an orphan generation of the Gedalim of that era, and Rav Chaim's presence, his Torah learning is missed.
Yeah, he was a fixture in that little corner of Bnei Brak, and I can't remember, I don't know, a long time ago, that almost on every trip to Eretz Yisrael, almost every trip to Eretz Yisrael, we somehow made it to Bnei Brak and had at least a brief audience with Reb Chaim. I went with some of the bar mitzvah boys and bas mitzvah girls in the family before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit, so I got to get that back on track. But it was a nice experience, and just to watch, what was that? Just to watch him, read your notes, the kvittel that you authored, you put everyone's name down on, and every once in a while he would stop on a name and ask a question about it. It was a very fascinating experience, something to observe, something that we always retain. What else you got?
Yeah, the last time I was by Rav Chaim, I went with at the time was a newly published Meaningful Minute book, published by Art Scroll, and I went, Rabbi Lessman took me in, one of the neighbors of Rav Chaim. He took me in, and we showed Rav Chaim the book, and I didn't expect much. Rav Chaim doesn't read English, right? The book is in English, and he looked at it, and he looked at me, and he said, "You should be zeichet to write it in Hebrew." And
all right, so you have to. Now you got a job. You got a job to do. Well, Art School has a job to do.
I know.
Maybe they should do it.
I know, right?
Well, anyway, tomorrow, even though it feels like yesterday felt like Sunday most of the day, right? Did it feel like Sunday?
Yeah.
And today feels like Monday.
It did.
Today feels like Monday.
But it's not.
It's a few times today I said, "Oh my God, it's Monday." And even when I got up this morning, I was like disoriented for like 15, 20 seconds. I had to figure out where am I up to this week. But it's Wednesday. We have a certain schedule. We have a newspaper that's going to print tonight, and we'll be out tomorrow morning. We'll go back to a regular schedule. One of the articles that I have in the paper, by the way, relevant to Purim and Pesach, is about, I spoke to two people that run Tomchei Shabbos, one here in the Five Towns in Far Rockaway, to Jeanette Lamb. And, as long as I was doing it, and I know we have such a wide distribution in Florida, I was thinking to myself, there must be Tomchei Shabbos in Florida too, because I know there's Chaverim, I know there's Hatzalah, they have to have Tomchei Shabbos. So I asked a friend of mine who lives in North Miami Beach, what's the story with Tomchei Shabbos? And he put me in touch with Benji Silverstein, who's in the food business down there, and they have, believe it or not, they have a very active Tomchei Shabbos. You think of Florida as being like a different planet with a different type of lifestyle. But he told me that they send food to about 120 families every week. Not just in
I'm not surprised by that.
Not just in Miami, but in Hollywood and in North Miami, in Bal Harbor, and other areas. So he named altogether 7 areas, which are in the article, which you could see online, or you could read in the paper tomorrow when it comes out, if you can get your hands on it. And here in the Five Towns, it's a remarkable thing. They when I spoke to Jeanette on Sunday, they were preparing to send food for a Purim Suda to people's house, and then tomorrow night and Thursday night they're going to send an additional few hundred families food for Shabbos. And then they're preparing for Pesach.
Yeah,
they're preparing for Pesach.
Speaking of food, if you're ever curious what goes on in the groceries on such a day like Purim, where there aren't a lot of people going to the grocery, so I had the opportunity to stop in the grocery the other day just to grab something quickly, and they are cleaning the shelves. They are getting the place completely turned over for Pesach. Before you know it, the chametz aisles are dwindling, and it's gonna be in full blown Pesach mode. Pesach is in 28 days.
Another week, I think, and another weekend, people will be Pesach shopping, and you're going to see the gluten-free cookies make their debut.
Ready or not, here we come. Debut. Pesach is...
Those are good cookies. Know what I like about those cookies? I like the way they melt in your mouth. You don't have to do any work. You just pop a cookie in, and it just melts away because it's not made out of what it's usually made out of. Anyway, what else you want to talk about today?
That's pretty much it. That's our post Purim episode of the Daily Thread. We're glad to be back. We weren't with you on Monday, Tuesday of this short week, but here we are this week. We have one more episode coming out tomorrow. Hope to see you all tomorrow.
Next time.
Bye bye.